record. Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's now 6:30 p.m. and I would like to call the regular Design Review Board meeting of February 3rd, 2022 to order. Before I proceed, I want to take a moment to go over our meeting protocols for this evening. The South Pasadena Design Review Board meeting for February 3rd, 2022 will be conducted virtually as a Zoom teleconference. Public comments regarding specific agenda items may be submitted by noon today through the city's website. And for members of the public attending virtually who would like to make a general public comment, please select the raise hand button on the Zoom platform. So we will now move into roll call. We'll start off the meeting with a roll call, and please note that the following individuals are present. We have Board Member Smeaton, Board Member Younger, Vice Chair Tsai, and myself. We are all present. We also have our council liaison, Councilmember Mahmood is present, and the following staff members are present as well. Angelica Frausto-Lupo. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Was that correct? Okay, excellent. Matt Chang and Lisa Krause is on the line as well. Excellent. So now we will move into the approval of the agenda. Board members and staff, do you have any requests for additions or revisions to the agenda? If so, please raise your hand. I am not seeing any requests, so I would like to approve the agenda as submitted. And so then we will move into the disclosure of site visits and ex parte contacts. So has anybody had any communication regarding tonight's item? Please let us know. Vice Chair Tsai.
No, I haven't.
Excellent, thank you. Board Member Younger?
No, I have not.
Okay, Board Member Smeaton?
Just as a subcommittee with Board Member Carlson earlier on.
Okay, great, thanks. And myself, I have not had any contact with anyone or visited the site. So,
Madam Chair, staff, I think Board Member Carlson just joined right now.
excellent.
Just for the record, well, Carlson just joined right now.
Okay, perfect. Oh, wait just one moment there. Oh, here we go. Hello, hi, Joe.
My link wasn't working for some reason, and then somebody just sent me a new one. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, great. No problem. We were just actually going through the disclosure of the site visits and the ex parte. So I will ask you, have you visited the site or had any communication regarding the item we're reviewing tonight?
I haven't visited the site, but we have spoke to the participants on the subcommittee.
Yes. Mark had mentioned. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so before we move into the agenda item this evening, the project that's on the agenda, staff, were there any general public comments submitted?
Not at this point.
Okay. Okay, great.
And if anyone would like to provide public comment for the items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. We have 3 attendees. I just want to make sure they are for the item. But tonight, they're not general public comments.
Yeah, I see that I see the attendees. It doesn't look like they're raising their hands. So in that case, we will move on to the public item. So we have one continued public item on our agenda tonight from January's meeting. This item is an addition and remodel to a single family home at 1900 Alpha Street. Is there a staff report for this item?
There is. Hello.
Hello.
Let's see. Do I have screen sharing rights, Matt?
Let me change your role so you can share the screen. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, let me try to make you the co-host. Sorry about that. So I think I lost our lost Lisa a little bit. Right, let me have her back and.
Matt, I think I was able to make Lisa co-host.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody, and good evening, members of the board. Before you tonight is Project 2418, which is a minor hillside development permit and design review permit. This still encloses 89 square feet and has a new 939 square foot second story addition. It also includes modifying the cladding, the stucco, such as the horizontal fiber cement siding. There'll be a 6-foot redwood fence, stone veneer, aluminum pergolas, asphalt shingles, chimney removal, bronze colored aluminum windows, and repaving driveway and adding gravel. So that's just the recap, but here we have a little bit of background. So this item was continued from the January 6th meeting, and it was continued to allow the applicant to meet with a subcommittee meeting. Thank you, Joe and Mark, for participating. And there we wanted to address the comments made at the last DRB, as well as some of the issues that got brought up during the subcommittee meeting. And that included adjusting the second story massing, realigning the windows and window details, including recess, providing pergola details, and bringing the design from the back to the front. And there was some discussion about adding eaves. Now, this just gives you an idea. We looked at this before, but this is a street view of what you see now. Property views from different angles, and the garage and driveway. And the street views with the houses in the vicinity. Okay, so the way this has changed, you see what you saw previously at the January meeting, which is down below. And up above, the applicant has addressed a lot of the issues by one, they've removed that wing or the cove on the first story. And that allows for a more cohesive wrapping of the stucco. And up above, they've put the fiber cement siding, as well as recessed a portion, the area of the closet to the left here, by about 1 foot, excuse me. And they've done a 3-in-1 window scheme, and they have aligned it with the windows down on the bottom. Right there, as well as the comment about bringing the pergola design from the back, the more modern feature, to the front. And they've wrapped this around, and I'll show you in another slide. Here's the west elevation. You'll see from this view, they've wrapped it. And, you know, the fiber cement, there was comments before about, you know, how does it end where the seam meets? And this, the way they've done it here, it fully wraps around. Now this is the east elevation. And the north or rear elevation hasn't changed, as well as the garage has not changed. Now the site plan has been revised because of the pergola and the change of the, with the step back of the building. Okay, so here it shows the section. So you'll see where the pergola is just below here and jets out. And you can also see where they've done the eaves from the front down as well towards the back. Now the eaves do not extend towards the sides. This is only along the front and the back. And this shows the floor plan on the second floor, showing the step back which eats a little bit into the closet, and that removed about 8 square feet from the second story addition. So fairly minimal. And they've updated the color materials board, and so they've included a more accurate view of what the pergola would look like, as well as they've updated the window details. However, it still remains flush with the stucco. And you'll see in the staff conditions, we are suggesting that they recess the new windows by 1 inch. So with that, the design review board has the following options: to approve as proposed without changes, or approve with modifications to the conditions and/or design, continue the project to a future public hearing and direct the applicant to make changes to the project or deny the project. And so staff's recommending approve subject to the conditions of approval, including the new one, condition P12, to recess windows 1 inch from exterior stucco. So thank you. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Great, thank you, Lisa. So we will now move into questions for the staff. So Vice Chair Sai, do you have any questions for the staff?
Yes, can you remind me what window types they're proposing?
They are proposing bronze aluminum.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's my only question.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Board Member Smeaton, do you have any questions for the staff?
Sorry, no, Lisa did a great job presenting that. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Board Member Carlson?
No questions.
Okay, great. And Board Member Younger?
No questions.
Okay, great. Sounds good. And I don't have any questions for the staff either. So then we will open the public hearing portion. Were there any public comments specifically for this project?
Staff didn't receive any public comment email to staff.
Okay, great, thanks. So is the applicant on the line currently?
Yes, the applicant is online. I will let Chris.
Okay. Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Lisa did a great job in presenting the revisions, and also I want to thank Mark and Joe with the suggestions that they had. And I think it definitely works a little bit much better than the original design. We did want to keep the windows flush because the owner, the way she wants to put in the blinds, she wants it to be flush in the interior. So we would need to have at least 3 or 4 inches of the sill and the jamb in order to be flush with the interior. Now, obviously, you know, if for some reason it doesn't work out, we'll provide the 1 inch reveal with the stucco. The only thing is that we do have the cement fiber. That's going to be a little bit difficult to just give a 3 inch reveal on that one, because you would need a little bit more than 1 inch to make it a little bit effective. So, you know, if we need to provide the 1 inch, then I suggest we just provide it on the window in the walk-in closet with the stucco.
Okay, great, thank you. Do you have any other comments, or I don't know if you wanted to present any items?
No, that's it right now. Like I said, yeah, Lisa did a great job presenting it, what we revised and what we did.
Okay, perfect. So then, board members, do you have any questions for Chris, for the applicant? We'll start off with Vice Chair Sai.
I have no questions.
Okay, great, thanks. Board Member Carlson?
No questions.
Thank you. Board Member Smeaton?
I'm sorry. I don't think I have any questions for Chris. I think I appreciate you guys doing your revisions that Joe and I kind of worked with you on, and I can see your point about recessed windows and not when you're doing that wrap with the cementitious siding it tends to be a little fussy when you turn a corner like that too. So I really don't have any other questions. Board Member Hill?
Great, thank you. Board Member Younger, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No questions. It's all lovely. Well done.
Great, thank you. And I also don't have any questions for the applicant. So in that case, we've finished questions for the applicant. So we'll close the public hearing and then we'll have a discussion amongst ourselves about the project. So if everybody can just unmute their mic, and we'll just, maybe if we could have Mark and Joe kind of fill us in a little bit on their discussions in the subcommittee when you guys met with Chris and the homeowners.
Madam Chair, if I can interrupt a little bit,
Yes.
because I noticed we have 2 other attendees at this meeting. So I wasn't sure they want to make public comment regarding this project.
Okay,
So,
let's participants.
if you would like to make public comment regarding this case, please raise your hand.
I see, yeah, I see Chris, Alvin, and Jason. I don't see anybody raising their hand. Oh, there's no chat option. Okay. If you're unsure how to use Zoom, at the bottom of your screen, there's a raise hand button. So you just click that, just for clarity. All right, I'm not seeing any. So in that case, I think we'll move back into the discussion amongst ourselves, amongst the board members regarding the project. And Mark and Joe, if you wouldn't mind just kind of filling us in a little bit.
Well, I'd just like to say at our first meeting, Mark shared some renders of some really great suggestion, and the architect was able to incorporate those suggestions that Mark suggested. And I think we were both really pleased with how it turned out. And that's kind of all I have to say about it.
Yeah, to me, let me continue a little bit further with Joe's comments. I think one of our main concerns that I really do think the applicant achieved was the union of 2 materials that were flush. You know, it gets really odd and awkward. And so they have set that closet stucco portion back a foot so that siding can come along the front facade and wrap. So it creates more of a much better termination from one material to the other. And so I think that resolved itself well. And then Joe's idea, which I think was a good one, of bringing some of that material from the back elevations, the trellis material, which is a metal, very kind of mid-century or modern trellis canopy type thing, bringing that to the front. So we made a trellis portion or we didn't, the applicant did, that comes around the front and wraps and kind of holds on to that corner. And so I don't think it's not drastic. It's not, you know, we weren't suggesting something, you know, really out of character of what they've already have. And the client was able to sacrifice a little bit in that closet, and they pushed a little bit here and there. So I think it's kind of the best of both worlds. And I know Joe and I are more comfortable with that front elevation now.
I have to say, I agree that, you know, I also appreciate that front closet there, that the roof line is different. So it changes the massing a bit. And I think it does kind of break up just this big box there with 2 materials that were kind of previously, you know, I don't want to say that they were slapped together, but they just didn't have this harmony. And now it seems like there's a little bit more, balance to the facade. Even though it's asymmetrical, there's definitely more balance.
And then what happens is that trellis kind of ties it all together too. If you think about it, you've got the bottom portion and then the second floor, which is in essence 2 masses, but then we have that horizontal element that kind of wraps and ties all of it together. And I think that's about as good as we can manage with, you know, the material or with the massing that they need for the rooms for the area inside that they need to encompass. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. I really like that element added to the front. It adds a lot of dimension. I think like the original design was very flat. I think with the change in massing, but also I feel like with that extra awning, it really gives it an extra dimension. And actually, I was thinking about the window. I actually don't mind having it flush with the stucco because the style is very modern and it's very, modern is very clean lines. And with with the changes to the front facade and the floor plan having a lot of like ins and outs, I feel like all the elevations have a lot of dimension to it already, where I don't feel like the windows need to be recessed to create more shadow lines. So I don't actually mind keeping the windows flush.
I have to agree with you, Melissa, too, because it does have a complete contemporary feel, even both the materials, the style, the massing, there's asymmetry. So I really feel like a flushed window is very appropriate here. It doesn't look like it would be out of place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in agreement with that.
And bringing the materials from the back, looks like the building is one complete thought now. It's nice.
I agree. So how does, I guess maybe the only item it sounds like we may need to resolve or just discuss and is the windows and that 1-inch recess that staff had requested. Do we feel that that's something that should be looked at or considered, or is it something that we, after hearing the applicant, after hearing Chris describe kind of the concerns and the approach they want to take with the windows, do we feel comfortable allowing the windows to be flush in the design?
I'm fine with it. I usually would be the one that would throw my hand up on that and want to push windows in for shadow and all. But I think also with, I think with Chris's comment that the owner, if they're putting in Roman shades or something and they want to recess that within that window, within the box out for the windows, it makes the most sense. So I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you want that inside and outside to have that same clean line. So with the window shades being recessed, they'll be very clean and tight inside.
True.
Agreed. Joe or Kay, do you feel strongly in one way or the other?
I totally agree with, I think Melissa's comments about keeping the simplicity along with some of the other complexity. It makes perfect sense.
I feel strongly that it's going to be a fabulous house. That's about it. Well done, guys.
Excellent. Good. Well, it sounds like then we're all in agreement and we seem to be supportive of the design and really happy with the changes that were made. So would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the project as presented and deleting condition P12 to recess the windows 1 inch from the exterior stucco.
And I will second that motion.
Great, thank you. Perfect. So a motion was made by Vice Chair Tsai and it was seconded by Board Member Younger. So we will now take roll call. Let me go through one by one. Vice Chair Tsai.
Yes.
Board Member Smeaton.
Yes.
Board Member Younger.
Yes.
And Board Member Carlson.
Yes.
And myself, yes. So congratulations. The project passes by a vote of 5-0. This project is approved subject to the conditions of approval. And this decision is final unless appeal is filed within 15 days from today. No construction or activity may commence during this period. Appeal forms may be obtained from the city clerk's office. So thank you, Chris. Congratulations. And that closes our public, the continued hearing portion this evening. And so we will now move into the next items on the agenda, which are consent items and discussion items. And seeing there's nothing for those items, we'll then move on to comments from the staff and board members and our council representative. So let's start off with Council Member Mahmood. Do you have anything to report or share?
Nothing other than to remind you that the city is holding a special city council meeting on February 23rd to consider discussion on commissions. This commission, the city is considering consolidation of certain commissions because there is a lot of staff time that is devoted to commissions, and there are certain overlapping commissions. However, having said that, particularly in light of the recent amendments to our municipal code that City Council approved last year, where we expanded the jurisdiction of the Design Review Board, I have every confidence that the Design Review Board will continue. So it is not likely to be affected, but certainly we welcome any public comment. And also we held a listening session last week, and we did hear some requests for greater solicitation of interest for potential commissioners. So if you know of someone that you think might be interested, and I know, thank you so much. We will likely have an opening this year, and this is a specialized commission with specialized expertise that's needed. If you know of anyone that would be interested in submitting an application, please let us know.
Thank you, Councilmember Mahmood. I do have a question regarding that. There's other community members that I know of that they may be interested in joining, but their citizenship or other requirements to be on the board may be a bit of a challenge. So I'm curious if there's any flexibility there.
This is a frustrating issue for me because I suggested several years ago that we amend our requirements. Right now, in order to be a commissioner, you have to be essentially eligible to vote in the city of South Pasadena. And to me, that makes no sense, particularly when you have, when we need to staff commissions with specialized professional expertise, such as this one. If you represent to me that you've got good people that would be interested in applying, but cannot because of that limitation, I would be happy to discuss that issue with the city manager and seek a second to revisit that requirement, because I agree, it makes no sense to me. If you're a legal resident here, you shouldn't be necessarily entitled to vote in order to participate in our community. I don't see the nexus.
Well, thank you. I agree with that. And so that's why I was asking, because I believe that there are some interested community members, but unfortunately, they don't meet the current requirements. So. Okay,
well, I have a brief meeting with our city manager tomorrow. I will add this to my list.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so we will now move into comments from the board. Vice Chair Tsai, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Great, thanks. Board Member Younger, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Great. Board Member Carlson?
Nope.
All right, and Board Member Smeaton?
Of course. I agree, or I just hope the DRB would not. I'm glad to hear that Council Member Mahmood thinks that it would still survive, because it is a very important, in my opinion, important board in town. And there is a lot of overlap, or can be a lot of overlap, between CHC and even planning it sometimes. And I know I had thought, and I've talked with other local architects in town a few years ago about maybe a giant board, not like 7 members, and it kind of all encompasses the ability to analyze and review projects that come in town, whether they be historic or not. But I think potentially the problems with a board being that large or that much responsibility is it's really time consuming. I mean, even our little board can be time consuming if we have a lot of applicants to look at, where if you're basically combining CHC, let's say, and DRB together, it's a long haul. I mean, you can really get involved. So it may or may not be the smoothest way to go. That's all my comments.
Great, thanks, Mark. I think my only comments that I have is that we don't want Mark to go. We want him to stay on the board. I know his term's up, but we'd like him to stay. And then I do have to say, in my experience over this last couple years, there are certain projects where it's been helpful, where I've had CHC members, we were put in contact because maybe a project had a historical element or wasn't technically historical, but it had historical qualities. And I will be the first to admit that is not my expertise. And so it was really helpful to have those resources and the individuals help and contribute. So I think maybe a little bit more of that cross-pollination that Mark's mentioning. Maybe we don't have to form an actual larger board, but there's just a way to open up the communication channels would be really helpful, because at least I know for me, from in a few different projects that I had reviewed as chair reviews, it was very helpful to have CHC just give some feedback. And so I kind of understood better, and I was making a better decision then, a more informed decision. So so that would be great if we could. And I would assume this, I would say, I know, Mark, what your thoughts are, but I'm thinking, Planning Commission, CHC, DRB, they're all within the same realm. So having an open dialogue at points could be helpful. I don't know if that complicates things, but
I don't know if there's a legal aspect to.
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you. A quasi cross pollination of when you want to ask some advice, let's say,
Yes.
because you're analyzing a building that's in a potential historic district, let's say, and you want to be careful that the design review board doesn't approve something that could haunt us in the future when it maybe becomes a historic district, and then the cultural heritage wonders how something was approved, or we want everything to be meshed together well between historical and non-historical. And so if there is a way that we can periodically, when we need to, communicate with another commission slightly, that would be great, as long as we don't legally step on some toes there.
Let me briefly respond to that. Mark, I think it would be unwieldy to incorporate the matters to be decided by planning and DRB and CHC. I know I'm the liaison to planning, and they had a number of special meetings last year. Their plate is really full, particularly because they've got the housing element, and they developed an affordable housing ordinance, and the inclusionary housing ordinance. I will note that last year, planning and CHC held 2 joint meetings to consider the development of an ordinance regarding ADU, historic ADUs. Council just had second reading on that, so that ordinance will become effective 30 days from yesterday. So we are looking for opportunities where it makes sense to combine meetings of the commissions, but certainly there is absolutely no prohibition to your ability as an individual member of this body, so long as it's not more than 2 of you acting at a time, contacting 1 or 2 members of another body. Anytime that you initiate a contact where you would be meeting with a quorum of that body, then we do get into Brown Act violations. But I think it's essential that DRB continue. We offloaded some of the responsibility from planning onto DRB because, quite frankly, planning's plate was just too full. So I think it's absolutely necessary that your good work, which I've had the privilege of witnessing as I've mentioned before our meeting here, continue. And thank you so much for your dedication and your service, Mark. It's
Well, thank you.
we have all benefited from that.
Yes, I second that. Great, thank you. So I think then that closes, oh no, staff, sorry, staff. Staff, are there any comments this evening?
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Chair. I'll go ahead and start and then I'll see if Matt has anything. Last month, I reported that we do have planning manager, obviously, as you know, Matt, but 3 associate planners who started at the end of December. I just wanted to give a quick update now that we have some staff on board. Matt, as a planning manager, has been able to really look at the case log and start distributing those cases and ensure that everything continues to move forward. And in terms of staff, we also have a vacancy as an assistant planner vacancy. And that requisition to fill the position has already been approved. I'm meeting with HR on Monday, so we're going to open up that position, I expect, next week. So that's more good news for us to continue to move forward with the projects. And then just to respond to some of the comments, I don't believe that we're going to see any of the commissions from this department, community development, eliminated. I just don't anticipate that at all. I think that absolutely each of the board and the commissions from community development all play a very big role in our community. And so I don't think we're going to see any changes in or any elimination of any of the board or the commissions. I did take note, so I will also mention to the staff that's working on the report to council on the commissions about the eligibility, and also ask that or ensure that there's some interest in joint communications, joint meetings. As Council Member Mahmood mentioned, that there have been other examples of when 2 commissions had a joint meeting based on what the item was, but I will definitely keep that in mind as well during for the year. And that was all I had, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to Matt, see if Matt has anything.
Yes, thank you, Angelica. And so like Angelica mentioned, we have 3 new associates just joining on board, and staff, we do understand that we have a lot of pending projects. So they're kind of reviewing the projects to make sure everything complies with the code and complies with design guidelines, so they can bring it to this body for review. So we do have a lot of project in the pipeline for your considerations. And the other item is staff would just like to point out that we also have a special Cultural Heritage Commission next Monday to consider 2 projects. And for the next planning commission, it will be on the 15th instead of the 8th. So we do have other project in this department for various board and commissions for your considerations. So thank you for your time and for your effort to kind of work with the applicant and form a subcommittee. And I was fortunate enough to join 2 meetings with board member Smeedian and Carson. So they definitely help us a lot get the project approved. So I really appreciate everyone's effort.
Great, thank you. Perfect. So normally we would move into subcommittees, but we already had the subcommittee discussion. So I think we can skip that. And then in that case, I don't think there's anything else. So we can move to adjourn the meeting. So I move to adjourn this meeting. But before we adjourn, I would like to remind everyone that the next regular Design Review Board meeting is scheduled for March 3rd at 6:30 p.m. The time is now 7:13 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye. Have a great evening.
Good night.